Ladies and gentlemen, RosterWatch Nation, welcome back to the epic RosterWatch Podcast, brought to you by RosterWatch.com. My name is Alex Dunlap here for the Week 3 Waiver Wire edition of the podcast, coming out of Week 2, a big Week 2, an injury-filled Week 2, a painful Week 2 for those who might have certain fantasy players. Before we get started,
I had a killer team.
Before we get famous last words in fantasy. Before we get started, just a quick reminder, you can find all of our content at rosterwatch.com with a pro membership. With a premium membership, you also get access to the algo and all of the betting tools. The algo last week, Trashman, 62.5% that thing went. So the algo is hitting really well for the sports betting stuff. Again, you can check that out with a premium membership at rosterwatch.com. But if you want access to the full waiver wire cheat sheet with our full assortment of waiver wire bids, is that an assortment? I guess so. It's like a full
compliment.
Just if you want to see the whole waiver wire cheat sheet, you can get a pro membership, matchup tools up, snap counts, targets, touches, all up. Trashman will get his flex rankings in this week. We'll also have the DFS stuff, the premium DFS stuff, and the sports betting for premium over the weekend. So with that being said, Trashman, a bunch to get to today. Before we get started, you want to throw out any condolences for Nick Chubb, the great?
I mean, it couldn't happen to a better guy.
Couldn't happen to a better running back. I mean, golly, and now we're robbed of it. Like this was the year. Everything was all set. The runway was set. Deshaun Watson, 1 extra year in the offense. He settled in. Now he's not looking great. I'm not sure how good that contract's looking, Trashman. But just the fact of just, in theory, it should be better in year 2 with Watson. It's an awesome offensive line. There's no Kareem Hunt. There's no, Jerome Ford.
I was ready to set new records in that catching league.
Oh, you had Chubb in that league.
Yeah.
Is Jerome Ford out on waivers in that league?
Of course not.
Of course, that's a super, super deep.
Yeah, the benches are way too deep.
All right, so that's the topic of the day. So let's just talk about it. Jerome Ford, of course, he is. So there's two ways to. There are a couple things here. So Jerome Ford, as a prospect, we liked him. We didn't love him. I think at the Senior Bowl, he was not as impressive as we were hoping, just based on the tape that we saw of him. Was it Cincinnati? Was that the year with all the Cincinnati guys?
Well, it was based on how he performed compared to Dameon Pierce. That was the litmus.
And I think Rachaad White was there too, right? That was the Rachaad White year. And so they had those two guys, and they certainly stood out above a guy like Ford and stuff. But Ford was a prospect that Byron, just based on the film and stuff, had ranked in his top 5. He was not in attendance at that Senior Bowl. That might have kind of tinted our shades a little bit about him. Here's the fact of the matter: he's behind a top 3 offensive line in the National Football League. Maybe with some of the injuries, a top 5, top 6 offensive line. He's playing in the AFC North, where it's just you have to project some of these games to be just by the until it starts getting super windy around there. So these are going to be fast-paced games. They're going to be games that, at least before the start of the season, everybody and their mother was projecting as being some of the highest point totals, right, in the league. So, and the fact of the matter is, also in Cleveland, those home games, when it does get so windy, those 35-mile-per-hour sustained winds, what do? You run the football, right? To me, when I look at the way that the distribution went after, and of course you guys know, I mean, Nick Chubb's out for the season. He's probably, he's turning 28 in 3 months. So he's probably, we're never going to see Nick Chubb at the height of his powers, which just totally sucks. But after he goes out last night with that horrifying looking injury, let me just get it pulled up on the snap counts.
Maybe he's got some Curtis Martin in him.
I don't know he's going to have to have, I think he's going to have some kind of, I don't know what he's going to need to have in him. Jerome Ford played 49% of the snaps in this game, got 19 touches, 131 total yards, and 1 touchdown. Of course, that was versus one of the best matchups on the matchup tool for opposing running backs. For one thing, that was also buttressed by one really, really long run wherever the defender kind of lost contain on him and he was able to get free. So with that being said, those things happen in football. right? It's like, you can't just say, let's take off the one long run and let's just look at with it. I mean, no, I mean, the long run happened and it happened for a reason that was earned. Right. He's gonna, if you don't think that they're going to bring in a running back, right? If you don't think that, and right now it's not a great time to have to worry about whether or not there is a new running back that's being brought in, right? Because we have Cam Akers that's now on the trade block. Wait, what's up to JK Alex in the chat? We'll answer this. I think that this is a nuanced conversation about Jerome Ford and how you handle him on waivers. JK Alex, for people on the podcast feed, is asking, is Ford worth your full fab budget? And we'll get to that, okay? But let's just put it out there and let's just say, if we do think that Jerome Ford can be 65% of Nick Chubb, right? The competition remains as it is, where it's just guys like Pierre Strong and Demetric Felton. Who else is on the roster? Let me just make sure that we see if there's anybody that they can call up from a practice squad or so. Jerome Ford, Pierre Strong. Who could they call up? Hassan Hall, who looked bad.
Hassan Hall, that's right.
In the preseason. So they're probably, and Demetric Felton is actually not. Is he not listed as a running back? Did Felton get cut? Maybe Felton got cut.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not seeing Felton on the RLAD's depth chart.
I don't think he's there anymore.
Where did he go? He's not on the street. Demetric
Carolina
Felton.
or something. I don't remember.
I didn't want to. Cincinnati Bengals.
Cincinnati.
When did that happen? Okay, so yeah, that happened. So he got cut. Looks like they picked him up after week 1. All right. So regardless, so there's no more Demetric Felton. So they're gonna bring in a running back. The level, the question just becomes, what level of running back do they bring up? And if we hear that they're making a move to bring up Hassan Hall from the practice squad, then that's obviously a good sign for Jerome Ford. But man, it's a bad time with the fact that Sean McVay and Les Snead have put Cam Akers on the trading block, right?
Yeah,
it's a bad sign with that. You know that Les Snead was calling them immediately, right?
Yeah.
What's up, Flores? Harry Snowman, how are you doing, brother? Good to see you. Good to see Trashman in a what? Not a what? A D-O-T?
I think it might be kind of Italian slur, man. If I'm not,
okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
I've actually met Harry Snowman. I think he might be kind of Italian. I'm not sure. Let's see. Okay. So that's the issue. If you lost Nick Chubb, or if you lost J.K. Dobbins early on, or if you're in a weird pickle with any of these other guys, I think that you can go full. I mean, how many chances are you going to get a lead running back who actually was a good prospect, who's shown you in his first time he's getting action on just 48% of snaps, can get 19 touches, can get 4 targets, can go for over $1, get the touchdown. Just keep in mind, it was versus a defense that we have rated coming into this week as the top matchup for opposing running backs. And also keep in mind, they're going to have to bring in another running back. And if it's a Leonard Fournette, or if it's a Kareem Hunt, or if it's Cam Akers, those are all things that could be pretty hurtful to you after spending all that fab.
But are you really scared of Cam Akers if he lands there? I mean, I don't think Cam Akers is as good as Jerome Ford.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I think that, look, with that being said, I do think that there's some merit, right, to the idea that even if they do bring in another running back that is a running back of consequence, right? And some of these running backs are not running backs of consequence. Let's just say, I know this wouldn't happen because I think he's on the Colts practice squad, but say like a guy like Sermon. I don't know why I just thought about him, or why you were so quick to even know who I was talking about. But if they were to bring in somebody like at that level of player, right? it's like I consider that to be a player of zero consequence. You have to at least consider Kareem Hunt, Cam Akers, players of consequence. Like
Hunt, I consider consequence just because you know he's.
And Akers with a change of scenery could be. Akers, dude, you forget Akers was like a superstar as far as a prospect.
I never liked him.
If you watched him as a high schooler, you would have.
I guess I missed.
He was like the top player in the nation. I'm just saying, dude. It's like Cam.
I try my best to not watch high schoolers.
Well, you can watch high schoolers. I love high school football. I don't call up these high school boys on the phone and ask them about their recruiting choices. there are these dudes at the recruiting sites that have to call these teenage boys late at night and talk to them about stuff. But look, man, I think that Trashman originally said he's always too conservative. He's always pinching pennies. He's such a frugal. He's such a frugal man. He never likes to pay for anything. And so he was saying at 20.
I don't ever not like to pay for anything. I just
you find yourself not paying for things.
Yeah.
It's absurd how little you pay for in life, Trashman. But he was saying 20%. And I said, Trashman, we can't do that, man. I'm thinking this is a full fab thing, especially if it's a need spot. You don't get this many every year, right? With Kyron Williams last week, that was a big time deal. We talked about it. I hope you got him. If you don't have any fab, if you don't have enough fab left to, if you don't have enough fab left to go in with the rest of it to be able to get forward, I still think it's fine. You should be good with Kyron Williams for right now and for at least the foreseeable future until he gets hurt, because he does weigh like 194 pounds. But
yeah, my only concern was if they brought in someone like Hunt, and then or
Akers.
I guess
it needs to be considered, because it's just another name. It's another guy. It's another player of possible consequence who's really, really out there right now, who they can probably get for a song. Is that or saying get for a song? Does that mean it's expensive?
No, I don't think
they can get for a can of beans, whatever, like a bucket of chicken, whatever you want to say. It's like they'll give Cam Akers away. So he would be a player of consequence. If not for anything else, it'd just be like if he came to the team after he was there for 2 weeks, how comfortable would you feel starting Jerome Ford after the reports come out from Ian Rappaport saying like they're excited about working in Cam Akers? They're going to go with a hot hand. It's like then you can't start him that week, and you're just do you know what I'm saying? It's like he's a player of consequence. So that can happen, and that makes the all-out fab bid here a little bit risky. But sometimes you take the risks. Me personally, in leagues wherever he's available, I'm just like I'm going to unload the clip and just see what happens. It's how I play. I like to take risks. I'm not sure that, and it's kind of like the thing too with hunting, Trash Man. Like this last Axis hunt I went out on, I came home without a deer, and it was so tilting because I could have had one on the like right when I get in my blind, I get the blind set up, like one comes by, I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna pass on that one. I think a bigger one will come by, and then Sunday morning rolls around, 5 hunts later, sitting in this blind for 36 hours of my weekend. And didn't see another deer, didn't see another shooter, and it's the old saying. It's like, never pass.
In the hand is worth two.
Yeah, or just never pass on the first day one that you would take on the last day, right? Like this to me, man. I see Jerome Ford walking out like this is a pretty big Axis buck, like 34-inch tine. Like I'm taking the shot now.
What about? But I think also you have to consider someone like a Zach Moss. Like what kind of fab could you throw to him if you're putting it all in on?
But see that's a different scenario, right? Because you're going to get Jonathan Taylor back in 2 more weeks.
Are we sure of that?
Well, no, we're not sure of that, but we're a lot more sure that that's going to happen than we are that somebody's going to come in and completely swindle Jerome Ford. What he has.
I'm just saying, but what kind of consideration can we have for Zach Moss if we're putting?
Well, for one, Zach Moss has never been a good player. He was in a great matchup.
He's been a decent player.
All the volume. Deion Jackson sucks. They don't want to put him on the field.
I like Zach Moss more than Cam Akers.
Well, can we just quit talking about Cam Akers, because everything you say is just gonna poison the well here. So, dude, Harry Snowman has lots of ideas here. He says that Cam is Deontay Foreman two years ago. I'm not sure about. Deontay Foreman 2 years ago, wasn't he still overcoming the? Oh, well, maybe you are talking about coming off injury and all the rest. Look, I think it's fine, but just for the matters of the sheet, we just said it's not going to be for everybody. If you want to be conservative, you can see what we put on the sheet, and I put on there a certain percentage, and then I put a little plus next to it. And what that means is you can make your decisions as you choose. You're kind of on your own, but as far as what I said you should bid, you should probably bid at least that much. And if you bid what I said to bid, you're probably not going to get him. Someone in your league is thinking kind of like I'm thinking. I think they're thinking kind of like Harry Snowman's thinking. That these opportunities they don't always come again. And we were really lucky in week 1 that we knew it's like, all right, with Puka Nacua, it's like it seems fluky. We got to go do it next week. 20 targets later in 1 week. We're just like, whoa, wow. Glad I did that. Kyron Williams over 100 yards, 10 targets, whatever, played every snap. Is it going to hold up? No, he's probably a great sell high. But it's like these, I guess over these first, just because of last week, we're thinking, oh no, it'll be fine. Like I'll pass on Jerome Ford. Next week there'll be another Kyron Williams. It's like that's not going to happen. Next week we'll be talking about, you should be stashing Tyjae Spears, just like we say every week, or just be the same kind of thing. So let's see. I think we had a couple questions here. There's somebody who had a question about. So they asked about the full fab. Harry Snowman saying Ford's the starter, brother. I get it. I get it. Would you trade Josh Allen and Sanders for Mahomes in PPR? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't do it. Let's see.
Alex loves him some Josh Allen.
Well, I don't.
Apparently, allegedly, although he took Hurt over him.
Oh,
in one of our leagues.
Well, that's because Hurts. That's because Hurts is lucky for me in that league. I just always have. Let's see. Are you guys answering fantasy questions? Yeah, Dylan Fink. Answer fantasy. I'm not going to answer any week 3 sit starts though. I just did the matchup tool. I just sent the ranking sheet to Trashman and Cody. Like I don't even have the matchups memorized yet. I've just looked at them for my initial look, just for the, sports betting and stuff. Sean Roberts says, I'm in love with your show, guys. Thank you very much, Sean Roberts. I win Akers and Gainwell. Can I cut and pivot to Devon Achane, Tank Dell, Jay Reed of Green Bay? Dude, I wouldn't. No, I think that I wouldn't do it for Achane right now. I mean, Tank Dell and Jordan Reed should probably be. Well, no, but don't Trashman's is biased for Dell.
You wouldn't ditch Akers for Dell at this point.
I want to see if Cam Akers goes to the Browns, Trashman, or I want to see if he goes to a team that they could actually use him.
What about Gainwell?
I think the DeAndre Swift genie's kind of out of the bottle.
Yeah,
a little
I think he has that job.
But it's just I also can't get it out of my head how that usage kind of.
The way you feel about Ford is the way I feel about Dell and his. I don't think you're going to get another receiver that comes along like him.
Look, it feels like a low risk thing. If Trashman's super into it, he's super into it. I wouldn't be getting rid of those guys just yet. I'm more of a fan of kind of hoarding running backs that could pop off into big spots and maybe not just trying to hoard these receivers. I mean,
I feel like
is Tank Dell going to be, for one, is CJ Stroud going to do that every week? And for two, I mean, is it just Noah Brown, or are we just going to forget about the fact that Tank Dell was the wide receiver 4 before this last week?
He wasn't wide receiver 4. He was splitting time with Brown, but and Brown's on IR.
Yeah, but he's going to come back, right?
The genie's out of the bottle.
Oh, I get it. Was Mostert's game a fluke? Same with Hollywood Brown, or are they both sell highs? I think. Well, I mean, Mostert's always going to be a sell high if you can get rid of him high, because he's going to get hurt. And whenever Jeff Wilson comes back, it just hurts even more. And they love to use a committee. I mean, if he's considered right now a sell high, of course, like he's the definition of the player that you would say, like, yes, if there's an opportunity for a player like this to sell high. And maybe you could. What do you have, Trashman? Like 127 yards,
Mostert,
19 touches. Yeah. If you can sell high, of course you sell high. The exact same thing with Hollywood.
But I don't think it was a fluke. His game. I think perhaps he does get injured at some point.
It is a trash man. Do you know what that game plan is? Is take away Tyreek Hill, let anybody else beat us. It was we were like 5 minutes into that game before my Moors on Prize Picks hit for like River Craycraft and Braxton Berrios. Just because I knew it's going to be like everybody's going to get theirs except for Tyreek Hill.
Well, Hollywood Brown, I think he's going to get better potentially when Kyler Murray gets back.
We have somebody asking, when will the RB and wide receiver rankings go up? So the initial rankings are up. I've just now sent the sheet to Cody and Trashman. They'll put theirs in. I probably won't get the projections in from the projection side probably until like tomorrow. Those will get added into the consensus rankings. I'll put my rankings in, and then we'll have the expected points model. I'll probably get it on Wednesday night. So that's when the rankings will be starting to get better. Trashman's flex rankings will be Thursday. On the side, guys, Ultimate GFS cheat sheet's been printing money. Thank you so much, Brian C. Appreciate, dude. The DFS cheat sheet has been really good, man. But we really appreciate you. We really appreciate you using it, man. Hopefully not using it against us, right, Trash Man?
A win for you is a win for me.
Yep. All right. JK Alex is asking if he can now start Nico Collins over guys like Amari Cooper. I think it'll be a week-to-week thing, but he's worked his way into that conversation. You know, these game scripts for the Texans are going to be bad, and it's going to swindle Dameon Pierce. Look, we've talked a lot about Jerome Ford, but he's the headliner, right? You have to know how to handle it. That's how to handle it. It's like jump in at your own risk, man. But I'm not going to tell you not to. I think Trashman feels the same way. All right. Anybody else at running back that we want to talk about? I mean, golly, man, tell me that Roschon Johnson and Kendre Miller and these guys aren't available on your waiver wires, because if they're not, those guys will be fine consolation prizes this week.
Miller's available in a lot of leagues right now.
Well, Jamal Williams is hurt now, and he's looked real bad. And Kendre Miller was not announced out in this game with the hamstring until the night of the game, right? He's gonna.
Well, I mean, I think obviously a lot of people are going to be on Tony Jones.
Oh God, let him be. Oh, please let him be. I'm going to go get all the Kendre Miller that I possibly can, and we'll see what happens with Jamal Williams. But we're talking about an elite talent there with Kendre Miller, so make sure you get him. We always talk about Tyjae Spears. Trashman talked about Zach Moss. All those guys.
I feel like Craig Reynolds could be a decent start this week.
I don't know about that because he's such a sub athlete. I think we're seeing more Jahmyr Gibbs.
He was serviceable in stints.
Don't you think that Bam Knight is better? They just. You
think Bam Knight's going to come in and start over him this week?
Craig Reynolds stinks.
I don't see Knight coming in this week and playing over.
Okay. If you guys have questions this week about who you should drop to pick up some of these players, let us know. I've been writing them down with some questions that we've had on the site and stuff like that. It's good to see all you guys in here. Dylan Fink, of course, Harry Snowman Flores, Bronco plays, all you guys. Bronco plays has a question.
And I guess I'm related to Ford too. I mean, like if you whiff on Ford, I think you can get Pierre Strong for peanuts right now. And if you have the bench space, it might make sense to add him.
I don't understand his question here. I trade away Mike Williams and Gabe Davis for Justin Fields and Goddard. Dak Laporta, Kincaid, a lot of wide receiver depth. I'm not. Is it
a super flex?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not dying. I don't think I'm dying to make this. I'm not dying to make this trade. Let's see. Okay, so anyway, I'd say, I mean, if there's something weird with your league where it's like somehow that trade makes sense, go ahead and do it. Like it doesn't. I don't want to be super
flex. I guess it kind of makes sense.
If it's super flex, of course, it's a smash. Maybe it's some kind of, I don't know. No, but I keep the Mike Williams side of that thing. Okay, wide receiver. No one up in that Ford range, but I mean, Tutu Atwell still out there on a lot of them. Tank Dell, we've talked about him. Jaden Reed, Sky Moore starting to show some signs of life. Rashid Shaheed, who's been on the sheet for the last week. All guys at the very top. Anybody in particular that you want to touch on, Trash Man?
I mean, Josh Reynolds makes for a decent ad. I mean, you can't really ignore his play this last 2 weeks.
Yep.
I suppose whenever Jameson Williams comes back, we're going to have to temper expectations for.
Who knows? Maybe we should temper expectations on Jameson Williams at this point. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Reynolds was a good player, man, coming out.
Yeah, I loved Reynolds at the Senior Bowl.
You were at that pro day, was that the one where you talked to Mike Evans about him? Oh no, that was when we talked to Mike Evans about Christian Kirk, I think.
Yeah.
I would say to just maybe take a little bit of. I wouldn't go, and we didn't mention Marvin Mims in that same category because just when you go back and you look at his snap counts,
he had 2 targets. He just happened to catch both though.
Yeah, he had the super big game. What? Yeah, 2 targets. He did have 4 touches. So he's just like he's a manufactured touch gadget guy. He is for now. Only 24% of snaps, but 123 and 1 is what a lot of people are gonna kind of focused on there. And when they do, just maybe could be a little bit of a little bit of fool's gold there with Marvin Mims. We certainly like him in Dynasty and stuff still, but that's kind of it with those guys. Tutu Atwell should have. I picked him up in some of my leagues last week with the second run of waivers or with some of these smaller bids when I was unable to get guys like Puka or Kyron. Anybody else at wide receiver you even want to touch on, Trashman, before we just blast through the tight ends, quarterbacks, defenses, and we get to these questions about the drops?
Kendrick Bourne is still available in a lot of leagues.
Is he kind of getting cucked a little bit now that Devontae Parker's back? He's
still led in targets, I believe, this past week.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't realize he had 9 targets. I just saw that. You have 4 receptions for 29, 51% snaps. Devontae Parker played 100% of snaps, dude.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean, you need to add him too, but
Kendrick Bourne goes from how many snaps did he play in week 1? 91% of snaps down to 50. It's not great.
Not great, but that target share is hard to ignore.
For sure. What about tight end?
Tight end, there's nobody who I'm championing at the bit to add. Zach Ertz has been getting a lot of targets in Arizona. As is Jake Ferguson in Dallas, at least, in the red zone. And I just feel like that's a good offense to get a piece of if you can. Hunter Henry has scored in both games thus far.
Yeah, Jake Ferguson finally got in the end zone. He was also on one of those targets. It looked like he was the first read, but Dak just didn't go to him. But they just don't use him anywhere. He's like, what do you have, 11 yards or something with the touchdown?
Well, I don't think we've seen.
Like it's going to start.
I don't think we've seen this Cowboys offense operate as it should. They haven't had to.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, last Gainwell question. Hubbard or Miller for Gainwell? So Chuba Hubbard or Kent? Are we all dead on A. Gibson? Well, I'm dead on Gibson until something happens, until there's a precipitating event, It's like out here in the Texas Hill Country, there's a saying, it's called like drought begets drought, right? There has to be a change in the weather patterns. There has to be some kind of change with something in order for the drought to break, right? So we need some kind of change in the patterns here, right? It's like drought begets drought. I need to change. Like maybe somebody gets hurt. That would be the obvious thing, but just any kind of change in usage. Any tea leaves that Ron Rivera just doesn't hate him. And let me be clear. I hate Ron Rivera. I don't understand why he's even a head coach. What has he done? He's had one good season, literally.
He's just always looking confused out there on the sideline, but
yeah. Okay. Of course, if Musgrave didn't have a big game last week, but God, man, he's running all the routes. Hayden Hurst, he had a down game this week, but we told you don't play Hurst this week versus the Saints. Just don't play unless you have one of the big studs. Just don't play your tight ends versus the Saints. All right, Trash Man. Oh, quarterbacks, anything? Quarterbacks, defenses, they just got to go to the side and look at the sheet. It's like
quarterbacks.
Stroud, right? You pick up Stroud, man.
Stroud, Russell Wilson, actually, of these guys who are on in more than 55% of leagues, Russell Wilson has had the best 2-game stretch thus far.
All right, here comes the tough part, Trash Man. Thank you guys and everybody in the chat, man. Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, you can find all of our stuff over at rosterwatch.com. All right, can you drop him for these guys? Zeke,
Who'd you say? I'm sorry.
Zeke.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one. I was kind of like, yeah, probably. But then I thought about it. What about Evan Hull? Because of just when he comes back,
Right.
we know that Deion Jackson, talk about dead, right?
Yeah.
But in the case something does happen with JT or something like that, he could take over as the lead back.
I
think you can still drop
don't think
him.
they consider him lead back.
You can still
He's
drop him.
droppable.
All right. Paris Campbell.
Yeah, you can. I mean, that whole Giants offense is the floor is so low.
Ty Chandler.
Yeah.
Somebody's asking if they should trade Justin Jefferson, Geno, and Michael Thomas for Chase, Ridley, and Mahomes. I don't ever want to trade. Really?
You said
Jefferson,
Chase, Ridley,
Geno,
and Mahomes for Jefferson, Geno, and
Michael Thomas.
I would probably make that trade.
Jamar Chase, Calvin Ridley, Patrick. Oh gosh, that's a big haul to get, right? Just for basically just Jefferson as far as the draft value that you put into these guys, right?
Yeah.
You're getting another guy that you took like at the 103. You're getting Ridley that was going at the 2-3 turn. You're getting, arguably the top quarterback. Yeah, you can do that trade. At first I thought no, but I think you're right, Trash Man. Ty Chandler.
You already said him, and I said yeah.
Brandon Cooks.
No.
Tank Bigsby.
Yeah.
Allen Robinson.
Yeah.
Why is that a?
Why is it not?
It doesn't. All right.
This is he riles consternation.
Samaje Perine.
Yeah.
Devon A-Chain.
Not yet.
Jerick McKinnon.
Yeah.
All right, and here are the tough ones that I saved for the end. I got 4 of them for you, and these are questions that people are asking. AJ Dillon.
No,
that's so. You're just so sure. He looks horrible.
I don't think they can afford to not use him.
I don't think they can afford to use him. I can't afford to use him in fantasy. I'm done till I see that's another thing, dude. I gotta wait.
So you think? I mean, so you're fine with getting him off your team?
I would drop AJ Dillon to go pick up, like if it was a short bench league or something like that, and I had a chance to go get Jerome Ford. Yeah,
Ford. That's fair.
All right. It's been a conversation here. Antonio Gibson.
Yeah.
Not for Ford though. Just dropping him, just to go into waivers and see what you can get. Antonio Gibson's your drop. You're putting in a bunch of names.
If you need to, I mean, if you're 0-2 and you can maybe get a Zach Moss, I'd drop Gibson for that.
That's tough, man. I'm not sure I would just yet. I think I'm just giving him a tiny bit more time, but it's tough. It's really hard that we're already having this conversation. All right, Cam Akers. I know what you're going to say.
Of course. Yesterday.
And then, I mean, I think this is fine to ask. I don't know how the people using our cheat sheets have this guy, but maybe they cheated. What about Dalvin?
I would not, just because I think they're going to need to use both him and Breece Hall to make this offense work. I give it another week.
So you're holding out for now, but only for about a week or so.
Yeah.
Okay.